Hi, this is Ross Payton. I'm a podcaster and role-playing game designer. I host Role-Playing Public Radio, and I've been working on SuperHero 2044 with industry legend here, Steve Perrin. We're here to talk a little bit about SuperHero 2044. So Steve, would you like to introduce the game?
All right, SuperHero 2044 was the first superhero game ever published back in the 1970s. We have the rights to put out a third edition of it, and it has undergone some major changes. So we are...
The game mechanics have been totally reworked. By Steve here. We have also a much larger cast of characters. We've added hundreds of superheroes and villains, all playable. Everyone from Dracula to Stardust, the Space Wizard, to the Black Terror, and many more. Yes. It features original color art of all these characters, and it's not just the original setting, not just the future in the year 2044. It's now a multiverse. There's a fourth wall world where you can jump out of the comics, right?
Right. And a world in which there are no superheroes, but you can read comic books and immerse themselves in them and become part of the comic book.
Yeah. So, this Super 2044 is really about having a game that's easy to pick up and play. You can teach the game. Steve and I have been playtesting it this weekend. We've been able to teach players, people who've never played a role-playing game, in a matter of minutes. They can just pick a character and hit the ground running. You describe the combat as like saving throw combat, which is sort of a new twist.
Essentially, the attacking person, not just in combat, but somebody who's trying to initiate something, has a set value based on their powers, their abilities, and so forth. And the player character, the defending character, has a defense ability which is not as high as the attack ability, and then the dice make the difference as to how bad or how good the defender survives the experience.
For people who want to create their own characters, there is a full character creation system featuring there are 4 categories of superpowers that you can build your character. Most characters are built with like 100 points. That's your average superhero or villain. But then there are more powerful characters like Dr. Moriarty is obviously 200 points.
Right.
And so, but yeah, you can create you can insert your own characters into this large multiverse. We have developed multiple adventure hooks for the characters, everywhere from fighting aliens on the moon to mythic heroes trying to fight essentially an evil archaeologist misusing ancient artifacts for their own gain. So there's a lot here for anyone who's a fan of superhero RPGs, and you don't have to, and all the characters are balanced against each other, so you don't have to worry about, all the 100-point characters are about the same in terms of power. They have their advantages and disadvantages, but you don't have that system mastery problem where if you know the game a lot better, you can build a character that's invincible, comparatively speaking. So, it's a game for people who want to actually get into superheroes without having to spend hours learning the game, learning how to make it. Well, after playtesting this weekend, I got to play the game run by Steve, but I also got to run the game several times. And when I was a player, I was lucky. They were kind enough to let me play my personal favorite character, Stardust, the Space Wizard, who is a comic book character from the early 40s, who is really unusual in the history of comics because he spent more time punishing bad guys than actually fighting them. He had these great cosmic powers, and he would use them to come up with these elaborately cosmic, very almost sadistic punishments, like decapitating a villain but keeping their head alive and throwing them into space. And when I ran Stardust as a player character, I transformed bad guys into rabbits and then summoned a giant golden scorpion to eat them because they were quite evil. And you can do that. He's a 150-point character, so he's a little more over the top for higher level games. But when I was running the game, we gave players stacks of like 50 characters that they can choose from, so I didn't know what to expect. The first game, someone picked Liquid Hate, who is normally a villain. He's this liquid monster who can turn into slime, and drain life from his enemies. But he worked very well as, when I just said, okay, your motive is to help people, not, eat them. And he took to it, very easily, and he was a balanced character. Normally, villain characters aren't usually that easily adjusted. And then in another playtest, someone took Birdman, and we went on the moon, and one of his powers is, can I talk to birds? So it's like, yeah, sure, they're experimenting on ravens and parrots and chickens in their space lab. So, oh, well, I'll go talk to them. And like that turned into a whole subplot. So it goes to show that you can have these sort of unusual characters and they can work really well in a game. And players wouldn't normally think to like, I want to talk to birds. But when you give them that option, it's like, oh yeah, I'll choose that. And then they make it work. So I know you had also an unexpected choice.
Yes, I set out characters, and one player said, well, I'll play Moriarty, as in Sherlock Holmes' old villain, who in our incarnation is an old man from the Edwardian era who got a longevity potion and is living for many hundreds of years. And I said, okay. And I was only playing with 2 people, and the other person wanted to play Hercules. So I had Moriarty interviewing Hercules to join his group, because Hercules is kind of an ambivalent guy. When they were kidnapped by an evil villain who was a rival of Moriarty's and put up against a group of 5 heroes, which I was running to try to see who would come out of it on top. And the guy playing Moriarty just went into it because he was still being Moriarty, still an evil person, and he spent the entire game trying to persuade one hero to fight another hero with bribes, with working on their psychological things. 2 of the heroes used bows. He was going, well, he's a better archer than you are. Just keeping the rivalries going, and what they ended up doing was the 2 heroes with bows kept trying to make better and better trick shots to hit Moriarty and Hercules, and missing. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, with this large cast, SuperHero 2044 allows you to create adventures you never would have imagined, or never would have, if you just started with nothing, you never would have come up with. And it's a unique experience in superhero games. So give it a shot.